for Black girl nerds.
Blair, what I love most about you being in this film is it can be a slippery slope when you bring men into the conversation, particularly Black men, about Black women's hair. And it could go great, it could go bad. So I appreciate Amos's presence in this film. What should we know about him that are the positives and maybe even a couple of the negatives, if he even has any?
About Uncle Amos, my character?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'd say the positives are that he loves his family. He loves his wife. He loves his niece, who's played by Elle, the protagonist of the show, of the movie. But also, he's deeply educated and deeply in touch with his history and his culture. What I loved about playing this character is that he is the mystical sage that introduces the mythology in the history and the culture and the mystery and the spirituality of whatever's happening inside this world. I mean, it's a fun horror film, but in a genre we've never seen in American cinema. You know, the hair possession genre. And that's something that I had to learn about, that Justin Simeon, who created this project, who wrote it, directed, and produced it, told me about. If you look at Japanese film, you can Google it, Japanese film or Korean many films, it's a whole genre of films where people put hair in their head and it possesses them, hair possession. So I thought it was brilliant to actually place that story and explore that within the confines of Black culture and heritage. So I haven't seen it. I've read the script and loved it. So I can't wait to see the final product.
I agree. It's very clever to use this method of storytelling to kind of tie together horror and things that we in our culture experience with a project like this. It's going to be educational for people who are not very in touch with Black hair and the things associated with it. What do you want to make sure people that your character is conveying to an audience where this might not be as familiar, or non-Black people who are not as educated on Black hair?
Yeah, you know, I always say our job is to entertain and thrill the audience. It's a thriller. So that's our first job. Secondly, I always like to make people think. I get excited when I can work on projects that introduce people to anything different than what they're accustomed to. So, you know, what hair means to our culture, it goes deep. And to actually make people think about, where does that come from? Where does literally the hair that we weave into our scalps, where does that come from? And if you want to go deeper into a whole spiritual aspect, what if it is real hair? What was the life of the person that hair was taken from? Because you're taking that in on a metaphysical, spiritual level, and that's not. I don't think that's not being hyperbolic. It's real. There's a history and a through line as to where that hair was grown, out of what molecules, out of what cells, out of what personality, out of what lived experience from that person, and you're putting that back into your head. Get something to think about. So I hope people have a good time, but I hope they also think and let it be food for thought of just go a couple layers deep into everything you bring into your home. Listen, this whole COVID thing, it's made us think about what we bring into our homes. You get mail from the door, you get a FedEx. That's got a history to it, so we got to clean that off. Never thought about that before. You know, got to disinfect that. Same thing. You put hair into your head. There's a history, the through line of where that came from. So I don't know. I hope people have a great time, but I hope it's thought provoking at the same time.
I think it will be. Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to see you. You're probably like one of the most beloved Black men in the Black community. So it's always great to see you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Take care.
Take care.
Better shake your booties for Black girl nerds. Better shake your booties for Black girl nerds.